This is the podcast review for Physical Science 8th grade, Unit 1, Chapter 3, regarding chemical reactions. You can expect to find information about what you should be studying for the test, not the answers to the questions. First item is a chemical reaction. Must know the definition of that. And in this case, I will give you the hint, it's a new substance. And it is created by changing the way atoms are arranged. In this chemical reaction, the bonds between the atoms are broken and new bonds are formed between the different atoms. All right, the first type of change we're going to talk about is a physical change. And this is where you're going to get a change in the state of the substance. One example of this is when we change H2O, and it can be ice, water, or vapor. And next up would be a chemical change, in which the molecules are actually broken down and broken apart. One example of this is again with H2O, when it is split in the process of electrolysis, and we actually get H's and O's. Okay, you need to know the definitions of reactants as well as products. Reactants are the substances present at the beginning of the reaction, and products are the result, or the item that it turns into. You need to know the evidence of chemical change. So the evidence, and there are 4 different categories that this can come to, and this is color, precipitate, remember to know what that is, gas, so if it forms into a gas, and or temperature change. Know when you might see these and how this might be shown to you. Know how to classify chemical reactions, so classification. And there are 3 different types of classification. First one being synthesis, and yes, you need to know the differences between these. Synthesis is where a new compound is formed by the combination of simpler reactants. So simpler reactants. Next one is decomposition. In this one, the reactant breaks down into simpler products, which could be elements or other compounds. And the last one is combustion. In combustion, you are going to get where one reactant is always oxygen, and the other one often contains carbon and hydrogen. And what it's going to produce is carbon dioxide and water. Let's add a little plus in there too. All right, the next component that you need to know is the law of conservation of mass. All right, you need to know what this is, and I'm going to give it to you right now. Any chemical reaction, atoms are neither created nor destroyed. All atoms that are in the reactants are also in the products. One more time, anything over here in the reactants must be in the products. These have to be equal to each other. They cannot have something here that is not here, and can't have something here that is not here. You need to know how to work with chemical equations. Remember, these show how atoms are rearranged in a chemical reaction. The reactants are on the left, and the products are on the right. They're rearranged, not destroyed. You must, again, have equal amounts on both sides. In order to write a chemical equation, you have to know the reactants and products. You need to do atomic symbols and chemical formulas. And you have to know the direction of the reaction. Two last parts of this. Remember that this arrow indicates that this is the direction in which the reaction is taking place. One other thing, just as a quick side note, please remember how subscripts work. All right, the last thing we need to know is about how to balance chemical reactions or chemical equations. Okay, let's talk about the example N2 plus H2, which results in NH3. As we know, this does not equal, right? It doesn't equal because in this case we have 2 nitrogens and we have 2 hydrogens. And over here we have 1 nitrogen and 3 hydrogens. So this does not equal out. In order to equal this, we're going to have to do some balancing. Remember, we can't take anything away, but we can add. Let's see. So first thing we want to do, let's take this one over here, and we want to actually multiply it by 2. Okay? And that will result in 2 NH3. And on this side, we're going to still have N2 plus H2. Again, though, this does not equal. Okay, by doing that, we now have 2 nitrogens, 2 hydrogens. Here we have 2 nitrogens, so those now equal. But we've got 3 hydrogens, so these are not equal. In order to fix this, we need to change this here. And in order to do that, we're just going to change it to be multiplied times 3, in which case we're going to get N2 plus 3HN is now equal to 2NH3. Check our calculations real quick. So now we have 2 nitrogens, 2 nitrogens. We have 6 hydrogens and 6 hydrogens. That concludes the podcast for this chapter. And as always, good luck. Don't forget to create your note card.